So, this topic in this module we are going to discuss about bipolar junction transistor, shortly we call as BJT. Uh, we do not go an objective based discussion, it is an qualitative discussion, okay, that we are going to do here. So, qualitative means it is an abstract level of discussion. Okay. So, we don't go more into the statistics. Okay. So, that is the kind of discussion we are going to do here. First we will start with the charge transport mechanism. We already have idea how exactly the charge moves in a p-n junction. Knowledge of the p-n junction can be used here. The p-n junction theory knowledge can be used in bipolar junction transistor, because within bipolar junction transistor you see a p-n junction also. Okay. If you connect two p-n junctions back to back, that forms bipolar junction transistor here. Okay. So, therefore, so we will use this p-n junction theory. So, in order to explain this the BJT concepts here. Okay. So, also we will see the charge distribution mechanism within a transistor, how exactly charges are distributed and how movement of charges takes place, that also we are going to see in this module. And finally, once we know within the transistor what is happening with reference to the charge distribution or charge transport, then finally we are going to connect that with terminal currents here. So, BJT is made up of 3 terminals, as you are seeing here. It is a 3 terminal device. Okay. So, what are 3 terminals which you come across in BJT? Okay. The first one would be the emitter, and the second would be the base, and the third terminal is going to be the collector. So, the name itself tells you that what do we mean by emitter, base and collector. Emitter, which emits charge carriers, base, which is like a control mechanism, collector, which collects the charge carriers. Okay. So, charges which are emitted by the emitter is collected by the terminal called as a collector. The charge movement from emitter to the collector is controlled by a third terminal called as a base. Okay. So, we will relate the charge distribution within each of these regions, and then finally connect that with the terminal currents. And also, knowing the terminal currents, you can easily plot the characteristics of a device. We call the characteristics as physical characteristics, because you can plot here characteristics between input and output, input current and input voltage. There are variety of characteristics you will come across in the BJT. Once you know how exactly terminal currents are flowing, we can plot the a graph or characteristics with reference to terminal voltages also. Okay. So, those things we can easily connect once you understand the charge distribution mechanism. And also this current flow is very important in bipolar junction transistor, because you can control the current movement from emitter to the collector using a third terminal called as a control terminal here. So, control mechanism plays a very important role here. So, this kind of control mechanism we do not have in bipolar junction, we do not have in p-n junction. So, p-n junction is basically a one way device. What you see here, it has p type and n type layers, p plus n, or it can be n plus p also. So, here this is like a one way device. When you apply forward bias, so current flows from p plus to n. When you apply reverse bias, there is no current flow in the reverse direction here. So, it is a one way device. So, here you do not have any third terminal to control the current movement from p plus region to the n plus n region here. So, that is a without the control, this device operates. It is just a one way device. Okay. But BJT is a 3 terminal device, and the base terminal will act like a control of current between from the emitter to the collector. So, now we have here something called a second order effects. Second order effects we will discuss little later. So, these second order effects, for the time being we will ignore them. So, because if you consider them, it is going to influence a lot in the BJT operation also. So, for the time being we will ignore this second order effects. There are numerous effects which comes into a play, so that influence the operation of the BJT. So, here for the time being we will ignore it, and later on we will see that by inclusion of this second order effects, how exactly the BJT operation will be influenced. And next is biasing. So, this biasing, more of this you will study in the fourth semester when we discuss on the course like analog electronics. There you will come across the biasing. So, but here we just explain the basic concept of biasing, because without biasing we cannot use BJT as an amplifier here. So, biasing is the one which biasing is nothing but is an applying DC voltage to the transistor to establish proper voltage levels and current levels here. So, by using the biasing, you can operate BJT in the different region of the characteristics, namely when you want to operate BJT as an amplifier, you must operate in the region called as active region. Okay. So, active region is the region which is well suits for the BJT to work like an amplifier. So, now question rises here, how do you operate BJT in an active region? That means you must apply proper DC voltages and you have to establish proper current levels, so that BJT operates in an active region here. So, now here the biasing means applying proper DC voltages and currents, so that BJT operates in active region. So, this mechanism is called as biasing here. Okay. So, same with the help of biasing you can also operate BJT as a switch. The two prominent applications of BJT is BJT can be used as an amplifier, and also BJT can be used as a switch. So, BJT when it is used as a switch, it works like a electronic switch, fast acting electronic switch. So, here also using biasing scheme you have to operate in two different regions, because here when we say switch, switch can be in on position, switch can be in half position. So, corresponding to this the on and off position, you have to operate this BJT in different region of the characteristics. So, when you want to operate a BJT as a on switch, you need to operate BJT in the saturation region. Saturation means a region in the characteristics where BJT is conducting heavily. So, this is called saturation region. Okay. Saturation region is one of the region in the characteristics, because entire the output characteristics of BJT we are going to segregate that into different regions. One region we already discussed, which is nothing but active region. The other region what we are going to discuss for switching operations is saturation region, and the off means you need to operate BJT in the cutoff region here. Okay. The cutoff region BJT will act like a half switch here. So, now we can operate BJT as an amplifier and BJT as a switch, depending upon which region you are going to operate here. So, now in order to operate BJT in the saturation region or cutoff region, you have to design a bias circuit here. The additional components like resistor and the various resistor, I can't say one resistor, various resistors and various the capacitors you are going to use such a way that the BJT operates in a saturation region here. So, to establish proper voltage levels and current the levels, we use additional components. So, that is called as biasing circuits here. Okay. So, now we will proceed now. So, in our discussion we are going to consider PNP transistor. The reason would be because whole flow and current flow in a bipolar junction PNP transistor is same as the both directions are same. So, therefore, so you can easily connect you can understand very well if you consider PNP transistor, because in the PNP transistor the whole moment and as well as current flow are going to be in the same direction. If you consider in place of PNP as an NPN transistor, it becomes very difficult for you to relate the current flow and the charge carrier flow here. Therefore, I would suggest always to start using PNP transistor for our analysis purpose. Once you are aware of this the working principle with reference to the PNP transistor, then you can easily apply those the concepts to even NPN transistor, and you can understand even NPN transistor also. So, that is the reason behind choosing PNP transistor for our most of our illustrations. Okay. Now, let us move on to the fundamentals of BJT operation. So far, I think we have covered just an introduction part of the bipolar junction transistor. If you have any questions related to the introductory part, you can ask me here. Okay. Any questions? No questions? Okay, I would like to ask a question to you now. Do you know the person who people like who invented this BJT? Anybody is aware of it? No idea? Have you studied BJT inventors, the background of the BJT? Okay, who was invented? Huh? Who are there are three people who involved in this, the BJT. Shockley, that's correct. Britain, who is one more person. Shockley, Britain, Bardeen. Okay, so those are the three people who invented the BJT. And if you look at the history of BJT, it is very vast. Probably in the year 1949, BJT was invented, 48, 49, and that's a year of Indian independence. That the year we got independence. Okay, 47 we got, and so during that time, period, this BJT also invented by Bell Laboratories, USA. The three engineers, the team of engineers who were working, so they invented, the BJT. And the BJT, at the time of invention, they had never thought that this is going to change the world. But today, that we don't have electronic system without BJT. So BJT is used in every electronic system. But 1960s onwards, little change happened with reference to BJT. In place of BJT, we started using a field effect transistor because of power consumption. BJT fabrication also it's quite difficult, compared to field effect transistor. FETs can be easily fabricated, and the amount of cost involved in FET fabrication is very less, and also there is a yield you are getting from FET fabrication is very high. So that's the reason of choosing FET over BJT. Okay. Nowadays, if you ask me, dominant technology is the CMOS technology. In every electronic system we use FET. 99.99% most of the electronic systems are made from the CMOS technology. CMOS means which involves again FETs, NMOS and PMOS transistors. Okay. But even there are quite good things about the BJT. If you look at the switching speed of BJT, it is faster compared to the field effect transistor. So whenever we want a high switching speed, we prefer even today the BJT only. But when it comes to power consumption, we go for MOSFET or FET. MOSFET is one of the family member of the FET. FET is a broad the range of device. Within that you will see there is a JFET, and there is a MOSFET, and there is a MESFET. So many device comes under the field effect transistor. Okay. So their operation is totally different compared to the BJT. So that's a little bit history about the bipolar junction transistor. Well, soon after the invention of BJT, the research paper was published, and people started developing small systems using BJT, especially the logic gates, and later on the big systems were developed using the bipolar junction transistor. When the concept of IC came in the year 1960, because of fabrication, people migrated into the field effect transistor, and this in special applications, like as I mentioned, in switching related applications, we prefer even today a bipolar junction transistor. So you need to study the concepts of the bipolar junction transistor. So if you understand, and if you have a solid fundamentals of the BJT, you can apply those concepts even for the field effect transistor. Broadly, the the discussion what we are doing here with reference to BJT, it also holds good for FET. So students need not worry about these two devices, because in our syllabus we need to cover both BJT and as well as FET. So you will be learning a important device of electronics, which is BJT and FET, which are widely used in most of the electronic systems today. Okay. Fine. Let us continue with the fundamentals of BJT. So bipolar junction transistor is basically a simple device, and we focus largely on qualitative view of BJT operations. We don't go for any statistics. We mainly focus on empirical point of view or abstract point of view. We discuss mainly the phenomenon and broadly the concepts here. We don't worry too much about the statistics, the typical the values in while discussing the BJT. Okay. By defining some terms, we gain physical understanding of carrier transport through the device. Let us see what are those terms. We also discuss current flow through the two terminals can be controlled by the small changes in the current at the third terminal. If you look at this diagram here, this is a diagram which has got a source of supply which is labeled as VCC, and there is a for VCC we applied here 5 volts, and you can see there is a terminal 1 here. We labeled this terminal as terminal 1, and there is another terminal which we have labeled as terminal 2 here. Current flow will takes place from source to the destination, which is terminal 2 here. The current flow mechanism here can be controlled through the third terminal, which is terminal 3. So, this is now terminal 3 is very important. This we do not have in PN junction. PN junction is a 2 terminal device, whereas BJT is a 3 terminal device. This a switch diagram that we have shown here can be connected with bipolar junction transistor. So, this terminal 1 in with reference to BJT is analogous to emitter, okay, and terminal 2 which is analogous to collector, which collects the charge carriers, and the terminal 3 which is a control terminal, this is analogous to base. So, now using the base current we can control the current movement from the emitter to the collector here. Okay. Current flow in a PNP transistor will flow from emitter to collector here. This is the direction of the current here. The current flow from emitter to collector can be controlled through the third terminal current, which is nothing but the base current here. So, this base current which is going into the base terminal. So, using this base current I can control the current movement from emitter terminal to the collector terminal here. Okay. So, here this is a current control device. Using this base current I am controlling the current collector current which is coming from emitter here. That is the main the concept behind the bipolar junction transistor. Okay. So, here you can make this current IE flowing to the IC, this is a destination terminal. You can make this value as maximum, you can also make it value as minimum. It all depends on what is the base current here, how much recombination you allow within this the base region. Depending upon that you can have maximum current and the minimum current here. More the recombination happens in the base region, you get minimum current reaches the collector, and if less recombination happens at the base, okay, you get maximum current reaches the collector here. That is how this complete 3 terminal device operates here. This can also be connected with field effect transistor, though the next module we are going to discuss is field effect transistor. Even the terminologies used here, like for BJT we used emitter, collector and base. Even for the field effect transistor, these 3 terminal concept also holds good. So, terminal 1 in case of BJT it is an emitter. What may be the equivalent in FET? Anybody can guess here? Any guesses? No guess. What is the equivalent of emitter in FET? Yeah, it is source. That is right, source. So, this is source. Okay. What about collector? It is a drain. That is right. This is equivalent to analogous to drain, and the base. This is analogous to gate. Okay. So, concept remains same. Okay. But in case of FET, it is a voltage control device, whereas BJT is a current controlled device. So, in FET, we are going to vary the voltage between source and gate, and using that I can control the current movement from source to drain here. Okay. Here I would not like to discuss, not like to spend more time on FET, because we have a separate module for that discussion. So, with that information I will move on to the next the content. Here you can see this is going to be the PN junction as you are seeing here. Okay. So, in this PN junction you can observe here this diagram you already seen many times in module 2. Okay. So, you can see there is a a reverse biased PN junction, that is what you are seeing here. So, this is reverse biased PN junction. We applied P region with negative terminal connected to negative terminal of battery, and N region is connected to the positive terminal of a battery. This is positive terminal, negative terminal, and through this resistor, this is a current limiting resistor. Okay, the amount of current that flows here matters a lot here. Okay, now this is, you can see that the photons are injected here. This is, this arrow mark 2 lines shows that photons, okay, are light energy, which are photons are falling on this diode surface, and we know that whenever photon falls on reverse biased junction, what is going to happen within this? These photons are going to create an electron hole pairs within the each of this layer here. So, within neutral N region, depletion region, and neutral P region, in all these regions electron hole pairs are created here. Okay. So, this photons excites, the electrons. The photonic energy which you apply H into mu must be greater than the band gap energy. When you apply that, electrons excite from the valence band and move into the conduction band. So, you will see a lot of electron hole pairs in all the three regions here, and the field here in the reverse direction acts from N to P. This is the electric field, and this is the voltage applied, reverse voltage which is applied. So, electric field is acting in the N to P. This electric field will move the electrons back to the N region. This is the electron movement, and holes into the P region here. So, this is the whole movement. So, holes will be swept back, swept into the P region, and the electrons are swept into the N region here. So, that means this N region collects electrons, P region collects holes, and direction of current flow from in this reverse biased P N junction is from N to P. This is the direction of current here. Okay. So, in the absence of light, you can see that there is a reverse saturation current I naught flows here, okay, which is negative, of course. It flows from N region to the P region here, whereas when you apply the photonic energy, then additional current like IL, let us say, that will result. This is nothing but current due to the illumination, that current will start flowing, and as number of photons falling on this the junction PN region surface increases, corresponding this quantity keeps increasing, IL keeps increasing, and you get more and more current here. That means the photons, the amount of energy delivered by these photons is now proportional to the current IL here. Now, we can arrive at these characteristics. We have already seen these characteristics many times, and this is nothing but a junction IV characteristics of as a function of the electron hole pairs. You can say this is the reverse saturation current I naught in the absence of light. This is I naught current. Without light, this is the, if you simply reverse bias this PN junction or take a photodiode and do not apply any light, and within this from N to P, the I naught current will be flowing. This is the direction of okay. This is so this is the direction of reverse current flow. Okay, I naught current flows without this the photons injected onto the diode surface. As photons keeps increasing, this optical generation rate keeps increasing. You can see that this may be the generation rate G1, this is optical generation rate G2, and this is optical generation rate G3. That means, as the light intensity increases, optical generation rate keeps increases, electron hole pairs increases, that increases the current here. So, this is the current amount of current flows due to the intensity G1 or optical generation rate G1, and the amount of current, if you further increase the current here, you can see that this is the optical generation rate which flows, okay, current that flows here. Okay. Next, we have here G3 is another, due to the increased intensity G3 optical generation rate increases, and this is the level of current that flows within the this is photodiode. Okay. So, we have seen this already. So, I do not want to spend a lot of time on this. Now, what is observation you want to make from this? How do we connect this to the bipolar junction transistor? That is what the main point of discussion. Okay. If you observe this entire the a photodiode, what is happening in this? If you observe here, you are making the photons to fall on this the PN junction surface, and these photons creates lot of electron hole pairs. Okay. So, that means it creates minority carriers here, it is electron hole pairs here. So, that means more and more if you create holes here, what is going to happen here? Any guesses here? If more holes are present, holes are minority carriers in the N region. If more holes are present here, what is going to happen? So, definitely this field will act on these holes due to the diffusion process. If these holes move close to the edge of depletion region, and the field here sweeps all these holes into the P region here, and this causes the current flow from N to P here. Understanding here? Either see, you in this case we are using photons, we are creating this minority carriers in the N region. That means electron hole pairs. Definitely the holes will be moving to the junction because of this electric field here. So, now here if you have some other device which can create this minority carriers here, in this case the photons creates that electron hole pairs here. If you have some other device here in place of these photons which can create this electron hole pairs, definitely you can make this kind of current to flow from N side to the P side here. Okay, that is what we are seeing in the next topic here. Okay. So, in the previous topic, what we have seen is the reverse biased PN junction that we have shown here. Okay. So, it has got reverse saturation current I naught now. That reverse saturation current is not fixed quantity, it depends on certain parameters. The reverse saturation current I naught is now it is a function of electron hole pair generation. This electron hole pair is generated due to the light energy which is at h into mu, that is should be greater than the forbidden gap here. This is nothing but photon energy, and due to that electron hole pairs are generated, and corresponding current also keeps increasing. That means, if you increase the light energy, if h into mu is increased, corresponding electron hole pair generation increases, and the current I naught also keeps increases. So, I naught is a function of electron hole pair generation, and I naught is now it is not it does not depends on reverse voltage, it also does not depend on the electric field. So, the amount of current that flows from here N to P, it all depends on the photonic energy, and it does not depend on the voltage V r here. So, it is independent of this voltage here, okay. It is independent of this voltage here, and it is also independent of this electric field here. Okay. It mainly depends on how many electron hole pairs are created here. So, more the electron hole pairs are created due to the large photonic energy, more number of the minority carriers can be seen here, that will the field will sweep these carriers to the P side, and it causes the current flow here. Here one thing you must understand here, the speed at which these charge carriers are moved to these holes in this case, are moved to the P is not important for the current flow. What is important is how many electron hole pairs are generated here, that is very important here. So, do not worry about this speed at which the electrons or holes in this case are drifted from N side to the P side here. It all depends on the number of electron hole pairs generated. It does not depends on the speed or the electric field what we have here, or even the voltage what we have here. Okay. So, it mainly depends on the electron hole pairs generated here. The hole current depends on the electron hole pair generation within the diffusion length of the junction, and it does not depend on the speed at which the holes are swept across the depletion layer of the field. Look at this the energy band diagram. So, in energy band diagram we can give same explanation here. So, this is an I naught current that flows from N to P due to the reverse biased junction, and this is electron hole pairs created due to the photons injected when the photons are made to fall on the junction surface. So, P N junction area. So, this electron hole pairs are created. You can see that there are electrons and holes here, and when this electron diffuse to the junction area, and here the field will act on this hole, and it will push this hole into the P region here. So, holes present here will be pushed into the P region, and this causes the current I naught to flow here. Okay. So, the field and the electron hole pair generated is very important here. Okay. So, the field here is only responsible for the movement within this depletion region, but EHP generation matters a lot in this photonic energy, the photon, okay, that is responsible for the creation of EHPs. I naught can be increased by increasing the EHP generation, that we have already seen. One convenient method of EHP generation is optical excitation, which is you need to make EH into mu greater than EG. Photonic energy, if it is greater than the band gap energy, then it makes the excites electrons and generates electron hole pairs. The reverse current produced by the optical excitation is independent of the bias voltage, we have seen this one, However, the reverse current directly proportional to the optical generation rate GOP. We have seen this also in the characteristics now. Now, if you look at here now, the mechanism what is happening in the previous PN junction, reverse biased PN junction, that can be mimicked using this the hypothetical device here. So, this junction remains same as the circuit diagram what we have discussed. There is a PN junction which is in a reverse bias here, and only thing is now instead of optical photons injecting on this, what we will do is we will have another device called as hole injector. This will replace the light energy now. I will call here the replacement of light energy as a hole injector. What this hole injector will do? Let us not worry about what is inside this. Let us assume that for the time being this device, this is called as a hole injector, and it injects holes into this N region here. Okay. If that is the case, that means you will have a more holes created here. Okay. So, these holes now the field due to the diffusion, if these holes move to the vicinity of this the depletion region, and these holes will be swept into the P region by the electric field that exists in the depletion region here. Okay. Now, the earlier the photons were creating this electron hole pairs now, but in place of the photons we are using here an hole injector. Okay. This will create the electron hole pairs within this N region here, and if you continuously create electron hole pairs in the N region by using a device called as a hole injector. So, now this field will act on this and it will cause continuous current flow similar to that of an photodiode what we have seen. Okay. So, that same mechanism here also can be created. In place of photon we have only here hole injector. Now, you can just observe this diagram and this diagram. Okay. Only difference what you see here is this is photons are injected here to create electron hole pairs, whereas here we have created a device, additional device, an hypothetical device called as hole injector. So, this creates electron hole pairs in the N region, and once electron hole pairs are created due to the diffusion process within this N region, the holes move towards this depletion region, and the field will act on this, and it is responsible for the charge transport from N region to the P region here. That means, you are going to get current I naught, which is same as the previously you have seen for optical excitation here. So, is it possible to inject minority carriers into the neighborhood of the junction electrically instead of optically? Previously, we have seen optically we are injecting the charge carriers into the N region, but now we are asking ourselves a question here, is it possible to inject minority carriers into the neighborhood of the junction? Yes, of course, it is possible. That is what you are seeing here. So, it is a hole injector here. So, consider hypothetical hole injection device shown, which is shown in this figure. If we can inject holes at a predetermined rate at a controlled manner here, okay, that is very important here, into the N side of the junction, the effect on the junction current will resemble the effects of the optical generation. Okay, that means, the mechanism what we have created for the current flow is almost the same as the mechanism that we have created in this diagram due to the optical generation. There is no much difference between those two. Okay. Okay. We will see shortly how this an hypothetical device can be linked with bipolar junction transistor. Okay. The effect on the junction will be resemble the effects of the optical generation. The current from N to P depends on hole injection rate and will be essentially it is independent of the bias voltage. We already seen since it is a reverse bias. So, now the current flow does not depend on the bias voltage. I naught would vary little for a change in the R value. So, you may be thinking that if I change this R value, this I naught will vary too much. No, it is not here. Even if you vary this resistor, the I naught will vary very little, it will not vary to larger extent here. Okay. So, that is what we made it clear from this the point here. I naught is a controllable current now. So, it all depends on how many volts you are going to inject here into this N region here. Earlier it was in optical device, it all depends on the photons you are injecting onto this entire junction surface. Now, in this hypothetical the experimental setup, it all depends on how many volts you are going to inject to the N region here. Okay. So, more the holes you inject into the N region here, this the diffusion process brings these holes to the depletion region, and there is a control flow I naught, which is now depends on the number of holes injected here, and the current here I naught flows continuously in this loop here. Okay. Now you can see that a convenient hole injection device is now, you may be asking a question here, what is this hole injection device here now? Okay, now we are going to discuss on this now. What is this hole injection device? It is nothing but a forward biased p-n junction. Okay, a hypothetical device, what we said is nothing but a p-n junction. This is p plus and this is n, and this must be forward biased. Look at this actual device here, what you are seeing is reverse biased, but now this device itself is a forward biased p-n junction like this. Now see here together, now there is a p-n which is junction which is reverse biased here, and this hypothetical device was injecting holes now. Now what may be this hypothetical device? This hypothetical device is nothing but a forward biased p-n junction here. So we know that in a forward biased p-n junction, so current holes get injected from p plus region to the n region here. So this is the direction of holes injection here. Now this hole injection can be done to this region n region here, and you can create continuous current flow in this reverse biased p-n junction here. Okay, that means we should have here forward biased junction to create the hole injection, and there is a reverse biased junction here which causes the current to flow, okay, within this loop here. Okay, so that's what we are trying to say here. A convenient hole injection device is nothing but a forward biased p plus n junction. The current in such a junction is primarily due to the holes injected from the p plus region to the n material. Okay. Now, if we can make n side of forward bias junction same as the n side of the reverse bias junction, the resulting structure will be the p plus np transistor. What do we mean by that? Look at this now. If you look at this p-n structure of a reverse biased p-n junction, and then hole injector, if you are designing a device with p plus n forward bias junction, if you observe these two things now, you can make a transistor by making this p plus here itself, and this n region here what you are seeing, this n region here and the n region here can be overlapped, and that makes a p plus n, and this p can be connected here to this end here. That means within the you are just merging this hypothetical device with that of reverse bias junction, and the resulting structure would be something like this. You can see now here p plus n, this is a forward bias junction, this will act like a hole injector, and this is NP structure which is nothing but reverse bias junction. This will collect the holes injected by the emitter here. Okay. So, the structure that results by combining hole injector and reverse bias p-n junction is nothing but the p plus NP transistor here. Okay. In this structure what you are seeing here is there is a emitter terminal extracted from the emitter region. This region we will call as an emitter because this inject holes to the base region and the collector region, and this region collects the holes emitted by the emitter. Therefore, this region can be called as collector, and the region which is seen in between this p plus and n, v plus and p is nothing but the base region here. So, this region is very important here because the holes injected from the emitter to the collector that can be controlled using this in this base region here. So, the region area of this base region and the doping here, it all matters in allowing the holes injected from emitter to the collector here. Okay. And you have already seen this bias here, type of bias what we apply is, this is forward biased emitter based junction, this is emitter based junction. Okay. So, emitter junction, and this is a reverse biased emitter collector junction here. So, this is reverse biased collector junction here. So, there are two junction and three regions, and you can see there are, this is a one depletion region formed between p plus and n, there is another depletion region formed between n and p here. So, this junction, for this device to be useful here, always this junction JC collector junction should be reverse biased, emitter junction should be forward biased, and there is a here WB indicates the distance between this the depletion region here and depletion region here. So, this distance is nothing but the WB. Okay. So, base width what we call, okay, that is the distance between the two depletion regions here. Since holes moves from p plus region to the n side, current flow will takes place from p plus to n here. So, and again here you can see within this reverse bias junction current flows from n to p. So, therefore, current is moving in this direction. This is the direction of current flow in this p plus np transistor here. Okay. So, with this configuration, injection of holes field takes place from P plus N junction into the center N region and supplies the minority carrier holes into the participating reverse current through the NP junction here. Okay. So, this injects the charge carriers, and within this, so this charge flow will be forwarded charges which are coming here will be allowed to move to the collector region. It all depends on how much recombination we allow here. Okay. Now, let us define various terminologies here. I think here there is another point here. It is important that the injection holes do not recombine in the N region before they can diffuse into the depletion layer of the reverse bias junction. Thus, we must make the N region narrow compared with the hole diffusion length. Hole diffusion length we have indicated that with LP, let me say, and let me explain that with reference to this diagram here. What we mean about that point here. So, holes here which we are injecting from P plus emitter region to the collector here. So, these are the holes which are moving. Okay. These holes which are injected here, that should not recombine here itself. Okay. So, if we allow to recombine here itself, that may create a lot of base current here. As we said already, base should act like a control. This should the lot of base current should not be resulted by this recombination. Therefore, so this region somehow we should avoid the recombination rate here. Now, how do we avoid the recombination rate? One mechanism is if you can make WB very much less than the diffusion length. Okay, so, diffusion length of holes within this N region, here the diffusion length, if I make it this larger compared to the depletion base width here, that is the WB. So, then definitely the less recombination will happen here. All holes injected from the emitter will reach the collector here. So, this condition we need to meet in order to have a very good P plus NP transistor here. So, with this condition, and also with the condition like if we can make IB as 0. So, this is a good PNP P plus NP transistor. Okay. Even in NPN also, if you are able to achieve this condition, then that is going to be a good transistor design here. Okay. So, this here less recombination should happen here. The holes injected, the majority of them should not get recombined. There may be practically, if you observe here, 10%, nearly 5% of the holes injected from here get recombined, and it causes the base current here, but remaining 90% will reach the collector here. Still, the maximum current, if you want to reach the collector region here, then you must meet this requirement here. Okay. Okay. So, let us define now what is emitter junction. Emitter junction is nothing but forward bias junction that injects holes into the center N region, okay, of a PNP transistor, that is called as emitter junction. So, these terminologies are very important, kindly go through that. So, this is emitter junction. Next, we have a collector junction. So, collector junction we have already seen, this is the collector junction. Okay. So, collector junction is usually reverse biased. Okay. So, reverse bias junction, that is a collector junction that collects injected holes emitted by the emitter in a PNP, in a P plus NP transistor. This is P plus NP transistor. Okay. That is called collector junction. Now, terminals, emitter terminal is nothing but it is a P plus region in a PNP P plus NP transistor. Okay, this is P plus NP transistor. Wherever we have used to PNP, you can make it as a P plus NP transistor, which serves as a source of injected holes, and it emits the holes in case of P plus NP transistor. In case of N plus PN transistor, it emits electrons. Collector terminal is nothing but it is the region into which holes are swept by the reverse biased junction. That is called as a collector terminal here. Third one is going to be the base terminal, which at the center the region is called base terminal. So, here the base will act like a control terminal between the emitter and the collector here. Okay. So, that is about this the foundation or fundamentals of the bipolar junction transistor. If you have any questions I can take up before we continue to the other points related to the BJT. Any queries or questions we have? No questions? Before I end up today's topic, I would like to give little information about this the different configurations. Okay. Okay. So, now so far we have seen the fundamentals of the bipolar junction transistor. Within the three regions, P plus NP region, how exactly the holes are moving and how it results in different currents. We have seen that. mechanism. Now it's time to discuss the different configuration that exists in the BJT here. So transistor configurations, there can be, since BJT is a 3-terminal device, there can be 3 possible configurations. So common base configuration, common emitter, common collector configurations. In each of these configurations, we are going to make one of these terminals as a common. If you make a base terminal common between the input and the output, that is called common base configuration. And if you make emitter as a common between input and the output, such configurations are called as common emitter configuration. Lastly, common collector configurations, wherein which we are making collector as common between the input and the output. Okay, so these 3 configurations are used in different applications. Mainly the common emitter configuration is widely used because of its input impedance and the voltage gain, current gain. They are going to be moderate in this configuration here. That is the reason we choose common emitter configuration compared to common base and common collector configurations. We can't ignore even common base and common collector configuration. They are also used in some the applications, but compared to the emitter, common emitter, so these are less used here. In certain applications, like when we want to have a unity current gain, we go for common collector configurations here. Okay. But when here we have to have a trade off between different the parameters of a transistor. So that is why in some special applications we use common base configuration and common collector configurations, but most widely used configuration is common emitter configurations. I told about good PNP transistor. Good PNP transistor means we should have 0 base current, that is what it is a requirement, and the holes injected from the P plus region should reach the collector without allowing recombination within the base region here. So, for that you need to make base WB as small as possible here. Look at the current levels here. Emitter current is going to be in milliampere, and even the same emitter current which emits from the emitter terminal reaches the collector. The IC is approximately equal to IE for a good PNP transistor. So, therefore, this magnitude of this current also and collector current also is going to be in milliampere, whereas base current is going to be in microampere, because of this region is lightly doped compared to the emitter region. So, therefore, you get less current in the base region. This is good PNP transistor design. Okay. And no recombination and other conditions is base region must be narrow. This is one way of PNP transistor design. And the lifetime of holes, okay, how much time the holes can live before it get recombined, that time is called hold time. That must be very long for a good PNP transistor here. Okay. So, WB is nothing but definition is it is the length of the neutral N material of the base region. It is measured between the depletion regions of the emitter and the collector junction. So, this is the W. So, between the depletion region of the emitter and the collector, this distance is nothing but the WB. Okay. So, WB matters a lot here. So, there are 3 conditions which I will be discussing in the next class. So, what happens when the WB is far greater than LP? LP is nothing but diffusion length for holes here. So, there are 3 cases here. One is WB far greater than LP, WB exactly equal to LP. Last condition is WB very much less than LP here. Of course, this condition is most widely used when you make WB base width very much less than the diffusion length. Okay, you will have less the base current, and maximum current emitted from the emitter reaches the collector here. But other 2 cases we will discuss what are the consequences of that within the BJT. We will discuss that in the coming class. Okay. So, with that I will try to wrap up today's class. If you have any questions, I can take it offline.